Right, year 10. So we're going to build on the work that we did last week. So you should have a research document looking at the work of Mark Powell. So we're developing our portrait project. So I asked you to do a research sheet, which you should have sent me. If you haven't sent it me, please get it to me today. I gave you some links on the PowerPoint last week, a little bit of information, and just saying what I wanted you to do each lesson. So Tuesday's lesson last week was all about finding out about him. Now this, remember to read. This is really, really important. There are way too many people do research and they just make it up. They don't go and read, or they can't be bothered to go and read that information, and you need to be bothered. Go and find out about him. Find out about an artist. You get a bit more of an interest and an insight into what they do. So Wednesday and Thursday's lesson was all about presenting it, and I gave you two links. One was to a website, the other was to an interview, so that you can actually hear, or well, read what he actually thinks about his work. I then also gave you some examples of some previous research pages that have been done by GCSE students, told you what you should include, but also to think about presentation. If you're doing it real time, on paper, you can do loads of collaging. Lots of people, if you look at it, tea stain it, because Mark Powell tends to work on backgrounds. So this one here is all postcards. He works on paper, envelopes, all sorts of different things. If you're doing it on the computer, you can still make it look like this. You can find tea-stained paper to put in as a background. You can find the images. If you've done a drawing, a section of one of his pieces of work, you can photograph it and add it to your PowerPoint or your Google Slides, okay? So we're going to be inspired by his work now in the development of your portrait that you did the week before. So I've sent you in the post some more carbon paper, some tracing paper, and a B and a 2B pencil, so that you've got everything that you're going to need. So I'll keep sending you little parcels of things. What you're going to need first is your tracing paper and your 3-hour drawing that you did the week before, okay? And the first job that you're going to do is you're going to trace off the basic outline of your picture, okay? So that's going to be job number 1. Try and get as much detail as you can for all the shapes, but you don't need to worry about the shading. We're going to add that in when we start working with the carbon paper. I'm going to show you one option which I want everybody to have a go at, and then I'm going to give you a couple of other ways that you could work as well, and I'd like you to choose one of those to have a go at, and it's building on everything that we've been doing. So we're making like a mini portfolio based on the portrait. And again, like I keep saying, this is going to go towards your final mark. So if you look through the previous work that we've done on the mini-me stuff, some of you haven't done your research pages. Some have done some of the drawings, but not all of them. So if you have some time, get things done. Get them sent to me. Email me them if you can't tag them into the Google Studio. Not Google Studio, Google Classroom. Okay, so I've got there my basic face just traced off. So it just needs to be a really, really simple line drawing. Okay, so that's the quick bit. What we're then going to do, need a new piece of paper. So you've got your A4 paper. So a piece of A4 paper. You're going to get your carbon, place it shiny side down on your piece of paper, and then put your tracing paper over the top. Get a little bit of tape, and what you want to do is at one side, now I'm left-handed, so I'm going to put my tape down the right side. If you're right-handed, you might want to put it down the left-hand side. Okay. And what we're going to do first is you're going to transfer all these lines. So decide where you're going to start. Use a B pencil for this. If you use a 2B or a 4B, it's a little bit too soft. So what we're going to do is just transfer these lines. Now we've used the carbon paper before. You used it in your little mini-me's. So we're just going to get a little bit of information down. So just going back over your tracing. And the reason that we've got the tape on is we want to be able to lift the tracing paper up and it go back down exactly where you've just had it, because we're going to start working on a tonal range. So this is what we're using from our research. It's line drawing, and then we're going to use mark making to add the tonal ranges, and you're slowly going to build this up. Okay, so it's worth just getting this bit right. You'll notice I'm using my other hand just to steady paper down, just so it doesn't ruck up. Now, because we've got the tape down, what I can do then is lift that up, and I can see that I've got my line drawing underneath. It means then I know that I can just have a look as to where I have and haven't just done my lines. Okay, so we've got that basic line drawing. We're now going to work in tone over the top of it. So what you're going to need, which I just need to find because I'd forgotten to do this. Just a second. Okay, get my photo. I'd rather you work from your original image than from the drawing that you did. So I've got my original image there. Okay, sharp pencil. So like we did with the tonal drawing, we're going to go with the darker tones first. So you're going to work on your tracing paper. And you're just going to start adding just a little bit of tone. Now the bit that's really nice about the carbon paper is that it actually does work like a tonal range as well. The more you press on, the more marks you make, the more carbon goes on the other side. So you can still create that tonal range. Okay, so if we have a look at Mark Powell's work, he does a lot of mark making, lots of lines in there. Okay, little creases, tonal ranges, really starts to look at the person. Now he works in pen. We're using the carbon to create our pen. So again, like we did, working with your darks and your lights. If you take the pressure off, it will still transfer a little bit of carbon, but not too much. And what you can then start doing is coming back in. So if you need somewhere to be even darker, go over it again with your pencil and it'll darken it up. Okay? Remember all these different things that we talked about, the fact that if you've got your image on your phone, you can zoom in just so that it can help you. So I need a lighter tonal range, so I've taken the pressure off my pencil. I know it looks like I've put quite a bit of pressure on, but when I lift it up, you can see the difference. There's only a little hint of tone compared to the lips, but if I need it to go a little bit darker, I can come back over it again, do another layer of the carbon paper, lift it up, and you can see I've got a slightly darker section there. So what you're going to do is carry on working on top of your tracing paper. Now this will probably be a lot linier than the shading that we did. I don't know if linear is a word, it is now. But you're going to see it's not going to be as smooth as your other one. We don't actually want it to be that smooth. You want to build up your tonal range. But remember, the tissue paper is going to look a lot darker than what's underneath because you're still putting the pencil down. Okay, so you're going to keep layering it up. Remember, wherever you need white, or a highlight, don't put any pencil on. But when you've worked on an area, lift it up, have a look, and then decide where you need to add a little bit more. So I've got the eyebrow there. Again with the hair. Now this is going to end up being quicker than your last one. The last drawing that we did it as a 3-hour piece of work. I'd like this one to maybe be, I don't know, an hour and a half, so that you can end up with 2 pictures this week. So again, coming back in with your hair, start off darker tones, keep lifting it to check. Then I need some lighter tones, because the thing that you're not going to be able to do with the carbon paper is you're not going to be able to go back in and remove some. It won't rub out. Okay, so just looking at where you need the highlights, where you need the shadows. Okay, so I've got to remember I've got a highlight on my glasses. So I'll pop that in. And I've got the shadow. Comes down there. And then you're just going to carry on. Just carry on working. So I've got like shadows on my face where my glasses things. So if you have got shadows or anything like that, really look carefully. Remember, compare your tones. So I've got a slightly darker tone there. It's very similar to my nose. So I know that I need a little bit more shading in that area. It's a bit darker underneath my hair. So if you need your hair to stand up or stand off the surface because it's lighter, work on the shadows. Get the shadows in first and then leave the highlights. So this should be, like I say, quicker than the drawing that we did last week, because we're looking at a slightly different technique. Okay, so you can sort of see me building that up. When you turn it over, I always quite like the back of the carbon because you actually get like a negative picture on the back once you've finished. Okay, so that's going to be image number 1 that I'd like you to do, is just to have a go at a carbon drawing. The second image then that I'd like you to have a go at, you've got a choice of 2. Now Mark Powell works on backgrounds. He creates a background first and then works on the top. Now you can either use the same portrait or you could have a go at a different one. So I had a go at a different one. Used exactly the same technique. Now obviously then I had to draw the face out initially to give me the face that I wanted to do. So I redrew my face, but I did it straight onto the tracing paper. So I've got 2 different ones here, 2 very different portraits, but working on them, and this is what I ended up with. So the first choice is to do one where you put a background down. So I put some newspaper behind here first and then did my carbon drawing over the top. So this is just carbon, there's nothing else, it's just carbon. It looks like pencil, but you can see the mark making. It's not as smooth as that original portrait we did. The second one was a carbon drawing first. I know it's blue, it's because I didn't have the black carbon when I did this, but then I've added watercolour over the top because the carbon will resist the watercolour. So this week I'm going to ask you to do 2 drawings, okay? Should take about an hour and a half for each drawing. Drawing number 1 is going to be a straightforward carbon drawing, okay? Drawing number 2 is either collage background. I would suggest newspaper rather than magazines or anything like that, because magazines are shining. They might not pick up the newsprint, but you could put envelopes down or anything like that. It could even be an actual letter or a page in a book. Or you do another carbon drawing and then you use your watercolours and put some colours over, and you might reference back to the mini-me work and look at the colours that we use with that and maybe link that in with it as well. So this week, 2 drawings, an hour and a half each.